Today is Wednesday, July 5th. This is the Post Up where we get to talk about all the top stories in sports. I'm joined by Brandon and Dexter. I'm Ryan. Guys, how was your fourth?
Our fourth was good, man. Relaxing, full of food. Got to watch some of the hot dog eating contest. It was good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, mine was great. I thought I was a grill master until I got a text saying that half of the household is sick because I don't think I cooked the chicken properly. So I got to deal with it when I get home. My grill master card revoked.
Uh-oh, you're in trouble, man. That's the number one rule when you're grilling. You have to be able to cook the food safely.
Cook it safe, man.
Yo, Brandon, don't invite me to the cookout, man. I'm not pulling up.
Let me investigate first to make sure that it wasn't something else that they did, because everybody else, it was finger licking good. Thank you.
Wasn't a cousin's potato salad or something else, right?
I mean, I don't want to snitch on the auntie, but I did get an eggshell in the potato salad when I was.
Oh no!
It could have been the potato salad. I doubt it was the chicken though, because Grill Master B. Lund was on point.
All right, Brandon's gonna have to investigate what's going on for July 4th cookout. But guys, some other stuff's getting investigated too. Obviously, let's start with our top story. Josh Allen was on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast from Barstool. And he elaborated a little bit further on, we discussed this story actually on one of the first episodes of the Post Up, the drama between Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, and the Buffalo Bills and what's going on there right now. And Josh Allen tried to clear the air and say the media is making too much of a story out of this. He says, I love Steph. That's my guy. Obviously, the last time we saw Stefon Diggs was in that playoff game arguing on the sidelines. Josh Allen just trying to pay attention to the tablet right there. We heard the comments from Sean McDermott, the head coach, when they started their mandatory minicamp. Steph Diggs wasn't there, apparently. He was still in Buffalo, but he wasn't there at practice. And McDermott said, I'm concerned Steph's not here. So we, as Natural the Media, had concerns as well about what's going on in Buffalo. So I got to toss to you guys. What are you making in this situation? Are we, the media, blowing too much steam into this? Are we hyping this up too much, as Josh says?
No, Josh Allen, if you want us to shut up, then shut us up then. Go win a Super Bowl. Like you and Diggsy, whatever all this is, the blowing up on the sidelines, this man tweeting out cryptic tweets and Drake verses, all that's supposed to be handled internally. If you don't want stuff to get out, then y'all got to be on your P's and Q's to make sure and keep a tight lid on things to make sure things don't get out. But in the end of the day, this is kind of working in your favor per se, because any publicity is good publicity, and you're playing in a media market like Buffalo. We're not covering any of the charitable donations from Bills Mafia like we should. We're covering the soap opera, Digs of Our Lives. We're covering that. So the only way you two are going to shut us up is to go out, beat Joe Burrow, beat Patrick Mahomes, and win the Super Bowl, because then that's when I will believe you when I hear you say, no, that's my boy, we're good to go. Until then, we're tweeting about you.
Yeah, they're not doing anything to, put out the fire, if there is really a fire here, right? Look, when the head coach says he thinks it might be a problem, that's when I feel like the spidey senses got to go off, right? The antennas have to go on. I think that, generally speaking, Brandon knows this very well. A lot of times there's going to be some internal strife. It happens in every workplace. It happens in families. People don't disagree. Things happen, but if you're working together for a common goal, you can get it done. However, at some point, you got to nip it in the bud and get it correct. And I'm not saying you have to do it for show or do it for the media. It's not about that. You got to do it for y'all. You got to do it for your team and the goal that you're trying to do, which is win a Super Bowl. So whatever it is in-house, like Brandon said, they got to get that together. You can't blame the media when the head coach says, I'm concerned because my star wide receiver isn't here and everybody's antennas is going up. And then, as Brandon said, which is, I think, a little corny today, now you have the cryptic tweets and the verses, and we're trying to decipher what this means and all this other stuff. Man, go talk to your mans, work it out, figure out what you need to get done, and then take it from there. If you don't, right? If, let's say, this is not taken care of, by the time we roll to August, there's just going to be more and more questions, and then that becomes a distraction. And we all know how that works in football. That takes away from the team actually being able to talk about the common goal, which is trying to win a Super Bowl. Nobody wants that. So I put it on them. You guys don't want it to be a distraction. You got to nip it in the bud and get this right before training camp.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Bills and this situation, we're going into year 4 of Steph Diggs, Josh Allen, and everyone remembers when the Minnesota Vikings traded Diggs to the Bills. Everyone was like, okay, this might unlock some potential for Josh Allen. And then Josh Allen turned into this MVP type quarterback, and he developed, and the offense looked awesome under Brian Daboll. And I think I posed this question to you guys last time. I don't think Diggs is happy with the current situation of the way the plays are being called. And he probably feels that he's not getting the ball enough in Buffalo. When all things are considered, Josh Allen plays a very, in my opinion, freestyle way of playing. He's playing with his head on fire. He's always trying to get that extra yard. He's lowering his shoulder into linebackers and safeties. But I think Diggs does have a little bit of he has a reason to be upset a little bit about not getting the ball as much, but at the same time, you're still the clear-cut number 1. There's no number 2 receiver that they went out and acquired. You know, we heard the rumors of Diggs wanted a DeAndre Hopkins to join the team or an Odell Beckham to join the team. But in all honesty, is that true? Or did you just I don't know what this is about, to be honest. I think it's all about the offense, to be quite frank, but we see this drama develop, and it feels kind of pointless, in my opinion, unless there is some truth to the matter of Diggs is really upset with the current offensive coordinator and the way the plays are being called. I don't know, Brandon. What do you think?
Keep an eye out on a couple things going into the training camp and leading into the season. When they start having coordinator media availability, start listening to Ken Dorsey, because people are going to grill him now. He's the only one that's kind of been left out of all of this. Sean McDermott has had to come out and say something. Josh Allen's come out and say something. Diggs tweeting Drake verses. He's saying what he has to say. We haven't heard from Ken Dorsey, so that's one thing. Training camp, when you already know they're going to be bombarded with the questions during training camp, look for the undertones. Look for the underwriting. Are they just giving us player coach talk, or are they really opening up and being like, you know what? This is what I was feeling. This is what we need to get taken care of before coming out of training camp. Because now that's the time to air the dirty laundry. Another game to watch. First game of the season, Bills, Jets. Big time platform. That's the show, Dex. That's the show. He's going to want to outshine Josh Allen, and Diggs is going to want to outshine Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. If they don't, keep an eye on what that tandem, what that chemistry is like. And that's going to tell you where that relationship is going to lead to throughout the course of that season. Do not be surprised. And I may sound crazy, but here's a crazy prediction. Do not be surprised if he gets traded out of there before the end of the season.
Oh,
I don't know. Whoa.
To that point of what Brandon just said, which I think is something that tacks on to what I said before, is, you know what cures all of this? Winning is what cures all of this, right? And if, to your point, Ryan, if Diggs is unhappy with the play calling, wants things to be better, doesn't feel like he's getting the ball enough, and I'm not calling him a diva in that kind of way that we sometimes do with wide receivers, but if that's happening, winning cures all. Because if they don't win and they lose that first game to the Jets, or they have a, 1-2 start to the season, right? 1-3 start to the season, there's going to be a lot of talk in Buffalo. And around Josh Allen, where a lot of this is going to get put on him,
right?
It's time for him to step up and perform in the playoffs, right? Now, he has not been able to beat Patrick Mahomes, who I think is the best quarterback in the league, best quarterback in that conference. He has not been able to do that. And I'm not saying that he should really be ashamed about that, but it's either you get it done or you don't. And that's just how it goes in professional sports. That's how it goes in the NFL. Either you're getting it done or you're not. And if they get it done and they're winning, there'll be smiles on the sideline and nobody will be talking about this. If they don't, this is going to continue to be a story. Brandon's exactly right about that.
Yeah, I think Steph Diggs is in a great situation again. And we've talked about this before. It's frustrating when you go to a team as a number 1 receiver and you're not playing with an elite quarterback like a Josh Allen who can get you the ball in all those situations. I think it comes down to what Brandon was alluding to also, this offensive coordinator. Steph Diggs was the go-to in Brian Daboll's system. It was every situation, red zone, third down. That was his guy. Steph Diggs was getting design play calls. I just don't know if those same plays are being called under Dorsey right now in the current situation. And I think maybe Diggs has a point of, you want to win football games, throw me the ball more. That's plain and simple. And obviously they haven't been able to develop a number 2. They haven't developed a good running game. Even though they finish in the top 15 in rushing yards, they don't have a strong, you don't think of the Buffalo Bills offense and go, oh yeah, that's a good rushing offense right there. They don't have a lead running back. Singletary was a nice piece. They have James Cook, but I think it's an interesting situation. Like Brandon said, watch what happens in training camp, watch what the sound you hear from the offense coordinator. Same thing with that first game, how that offense, does it light it up? Are they going to throw the ball a ton to Diggs? And don't forget, Diggs is going up against some pretty good corners in the AFC East. Jalen Ramsey's now a Miami Dolphin. Sauce Gardner's an elite young cornerback. And the Patriots know how to shut down your number one receiver. No, Diggs is giving them problems. That's what they try to do. So he's not an easy division either. So it's going to be an interesting situation as the season goes on when Buffalo, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Yep.
Next topic here, guys. WNBA's player Natasha Cloud had some comments about the current situation where our country is run right now. And this was after the response to the Supreme Court to strike down the affirmative action on Friday. And her quote was, "Our country is trash in so many ways. And instead of using our resources to make it better, we continue to oppress marginalized groups that we have targeted since the beginning of times." She also went on to say, we are a hateful disappointment. So, guys, there was obviously a lot of response on social media from these comments. There's more that she talked about here, but I wanted to open the floor to both of you in response to these comments. What'd you make of what she had to say?
First of all,
go ahead.
I'll start with this and say, first of all, I understand where Natasha Cloud is coming from as a Black person in this country. And I would like to be clear about saying this, that I think that people need to understand that what it means to be in this country, even though the freedoms that we have to say what we have to say, freedom doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. A lot of people feel different based on their history, based on their culture, based on the background of what their experiences is in America. So I think that needs to be taken in regard too. And I think that the reason she's upset was, and not to get too political, but some of the things that we saw with the Supreme Court last week, it was very disappointing for a lot of people. A lot of people of color, a lot of Black people were very upset and outraged about this. And I think she spoke her piece on that and is using her platform for that. And the last thing I'll say before I hand it over to Brandon is, it is okay to be critical of a place that you live in. That's part of our freedom. It is okay to say that we should do better, which is, I think, what her point is that she's trying to say. People are going to hone in on the word trash and how strong her statement was. And I understand that's a strong statement and how she feels, but that is how she feels. And it's okay to be critical. I think what we need to look back and say is, why is she saying that it's trash? What is it that we've done historically that has been so bad? Where can we get better? Those are the things I would like to see going forward. And I hope the conversation shifts to, instead of deflecting it like some people have been doing, which I do not like.
Yeah, no one wants to talk about the why. No one wants to go deep into the why. We live in the generation now, or we live in a time where the outrage is there. Oh, who cares what you're saying? This is America the Great. I'm a patriot. Let's, red, white, and blue, and let me down some beer, in that situation. So she represents, when she's talking about marginalized communities, she represents a myriad of those. One, she's Black American, but she also grew up in white middle class. I guess adoptive parents or whatever. So she's coming from that. And then you look at the WNBA, a lot of the women in that league represent the LGBTQ plus community. So you think it's some of the laws, not only from the affirmative action being dismantled, but then also with Roe versus Wade being overturned. And then you can look at how, LGBTQ people feel as though they're being treated in this country as well. She represents a myriad of those marginalized communities. So it's easy for someone to just look and be like, well, if you don't like it, get up out of here. No, what she's doing is exercising her First Amendment right and speaking out. That's what makes America the beautiful, like America so great. Yeah, we're not perfect. We've got a lot of things that we need to get done, but her speaking out, or us coming together and being able to have dialogue when it comes to these certain issues and actually learning about each other and each other's cultures, that's what makes us, or is going to get us to where we're going to get to. But for Enes Kanter Freedom to tweet out, just ask your colleague Brittany Griner how trash America is. Calling America trash, huh? Let me know when your season's over. I'll buy your ticket and we can go together like countries like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, Turkey. Look, I know his story about what he went through. The man had a bounty on his head back in his home country. But don't come over here and try and tell people who are from over here that experienced not that side of America you haven't seen. Don't
Right.
try and tell them how to feel and just be like, shut up and dribble, or shut up and just be happy to be American. Now I'm gonna put it on McLeod, and you see pictures of her at rallies. You see her pictures of her front and center, front line at the protest. And I'm gonna put it on even more. Continue to go even more, go push even more. Don't even be on the front line. Be on that back line as well, because be the investor, be the one who start the program for whatever it is your cause that you want to fight for. But I just hate it when it comes to something, Ryan, like I hate it when it comes to something where it's like, oh, I'm going to speak out about X, and then everyone just automatically attacks you to say, oh, you're not a patriot, you're not American, because you want to speak out against America, against things that happen in America. But then if you flip it, they're going to be on, when it comes to the thing that they feel as though that they want to be heard on, they're going to say America needs to be better, X needs to be better, X, Y, Z. It's just unfortunate that you're seeing this play out the way it is on Twitter, on the highest platform, when at the same time he could be asking her why, X, Y, Z. Hey, here's some possible solutions. Let's work together. But at the same time, just know, here in America, you guys are able to do certain things like this. Drop the ball on that one, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to, like you said, these are hard conversations to have. These are honest conversations that need to be had. I think we live in a society, unfortunately, right now here in America, where everyone's so quick to rush to judge. Everyone's so quick to not empathize and listen. Those are the two big things I harp on. Empathize and listen to where the person you're listening to, why they feel this way, how they feel this way, like their background, because you can't assume. And when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And I know that's a cliche, but that's the truth. So you can't rush to judgment on these things. You can't. And there's just also this feeling, I feel so many people want to defend their views and what they believe in, which you have every right to. But there's no reason to put that other person and what they believe in down.
Right.
You might not believe that the country is trash like Natasha Cloud thinks is right now, which is, I don't believe that. But at the same time, I recognize the issues and I recognize the problems, and I want to listen and I want to have empathy for other people in those situations, because I know I was lucky growing up and how I was brought up. But at the same time, like, I don't know both of your guys' backgrounds and where you came from. I want to learn about it and I want to ask you about it, because it's also one, I like to be a good person and be friendly and understand those situations and learn more about our great American culture. What makes us all great is that we come from different places and different backgrounds. Not everyone's the same. And I think there's just been so much talk, and it's the fiery society that we're in right now, where everyone just wants to defend their views and, hey, I'm right, you're wrong. And it's sad to see, in my opinion. And listen, it takes, in my opinion, for someone like Natasha Cloud, who has a platform like social media, to use it and share her views, go for it. That's your opinion. I'm never going to knock you for your opinion, and I'm never going to think lower of you. You're allowed to believe what you want to believe. Who am I to judge? And who am I to say you're wrong? I have my beliefs. You have yours. End of the day, that's what we were born on. That's what we were given, granted, living here in America, is you're allowed to believe what you want and have those strong beliefs. So it's like I said, you got to be willing to listen, and you got to have empathy for all these things that are going on.
That's the thing, Ryan. I think that's the thing. And I think everybody said beautiful things here on this time. I'm glad we have the platform to be able to talk about this, because I think that's the thing. And Brandon hit the word that was so important, what she talked about. When you're talking about people from marginalized communities, the worst thing that other people can do is sit there and be like, nah, you're wrong. You don't know what it's like being in that person's shoes, right? Even though Natasha Cloud and myself and Brandon, we're all Black, I don't understand what is in her shoes, or some other women that might be in the WNBA that are from the LGBTQ community. I don't know fully that struggle, but I have friends who are, and I've listened to them and heard what their struggles are and what their understandings is. And you have to understand that when somebody's coming from a place of pain, especially in the marginalized community, I think sometimes, like you said, it's the empathy. We need to shut up and listen. when women talk about issues that they face and what's going on, we as men, sometimes in privilege, we have Enos Cantor in this situation. You need to shut up and listen, not telling them to shut up and dribble. Maybe you need to listen more and listen to what they're saying and understanding that place, of pain that they're coming from to why they're saying it's trash. And Ryan made a point and said that, hey, I don't feel that America is trash. And I think that Natasha Cloud specifically used that word to be very strong about it. She loves the freedoms that she has in this country to say what she has to say. And that's what is great, that we can say that, right? But we also understand that Ryan didn't get offended by her saying that, because I think you had empathy and understanding to try to understand where she is coming from and her pain on that. That's the difference. So if you can understand where someone's coming from and listen to them, you're not going to be like, oh man, I'm offended, because you're coming from a place of saying, yeah, I don't know that person's struggle or what actually led to them to make that statement, right? Natasha Cloud's not crazy. She's not unhinged. She's not just saying something because she doesn't want to say. This is coming from years of pain and systemic racism and generational trauma and all that stuff. And I think the more we take time to have those conversations, like Ryan beautifully said, it's going to be better. But we have to come from understanding. Enos Cantor, he's dead wrong on this, because instead of furthering the conversation and having something like the three of us are talking about, he's sitting there talking about, well, you're not a patriot. It's like, nah, man, that's not even what she's talking about. You're not listening. You're not listening.
The way that Ryan handled it, she would be open to conversation.
Absolutely.
She could be a fourth guest on here and we could actually talk it out. And Ryan, you could even drill to her, like, why would you say, why would you use the word trash? In America, we have so many freedoms. I don't think that she would come at you or feel as though you're attacking her just because of the way that you've broken it down to us. Now, on the flip side, the Enos Cantor part of it, she wouldn't want anything to do with him. And then their whole back and forth on Twitter or social media is just going to be nothing but some sort of vitriol back and forth.
Well, I guess my question to both of you is why do these conversations and these beliefs turn into competitions of who's right, who's wrong, who's better, who's had it worse? Why does it always get to that? Like, is there a competitive, is it the athlete? Like, this might be a crazy question. Is it the athlete in them that wants to be right and be, like I had a harder bringing up in where I grew up in my country, or Natasha coming from where she came from? Like, I know you both had different backgrounds and growing up. Do you have a belief like I had it harder? Is there, because I just don't understand why you can't just recognize, listen, not everyone has, like, everyone has issues. Everyone grows up differently. Everyone, has different backgrounds. You have to, like I said, just listen and hear where they're coming from. That's where I guess I'm a little hung up on,
because people want to play to their audience so much. Now it's like that line in the sand. If you try and tiptoe that line or stay independent or neutral, then you end up, there's a fear of you getting hammered by both sides. Like, it's funny when people are like, oh, Brennan, your upbringing, like, I ain't grew up in no projects or my dad's a well-known, well-respected college football coach. I watched this man work his ass off. We had the biggest house in white neighborhoods growing up and all. So I'm able to cross both sides of the railroads and talk to both sides in that sense. But when you see something to where people just try and draw that hard line in the sand, and it's like, over here, we're looking at you guys because you're doing X, Y, Z. And then the other side is just like, no, going back and forth. There's just, you're going to get no sort of conversation out of it, Dexter. And it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of too many people, just everybody wants to be right. And back to Ryan's other point, nobody wants to listen, right? And again, I think there are certain things where if you take your ego, it's ego. If you take your ego out of it and you realize that you don't know everything, and there's some perspectives you don't understand. I've talked to plenty of white friends who I've had conversations with about different things around race and things of that nature. And a lot of it was being able to get them perspectives because they asked questions. They tried to understand. They had an understanding that, yes, my experience as a white man or woman in this country is, because of the history behind it, is very different than this Black person. And I'm glad Brandon brought something up too. Even among Black people, right? Blackness or Black people, we're not a monolith. There are different things in our experiences different. I grew up different from Brandon. I am a child of immigrant parents from the Caribbean. My upbringing is different from Brandon. Brandon and I have commonalities in that we're both Black in this country, and there are things that we'll experience the same, but it's not all the same. And because of that, I can learn stuff from Brandon. Brandon learns things from me. So I learn things from Ryan. Ryan and I have had conversations about a plethora of different things. I just think it's that when you come with that ego and it's that I've got to be right, that's where we're losing it, instead of trying to learn and understand, and some humbleness, and just saying, this is my thing with Enes Kanter on this. I understand your situation, Enes Kanter, and Brandon brought this up, but you have to understand and take all the history in account and understand why Natasha Cloud feels that she does. She knows her history. She understands what it's been like being Black in this country, the impacts of it. And I think until everybody understands and says, and this is the thing I'll say about America, not to be too political, is that, look, America's had a lot of sins when it comes to people of color, and the original sin being slavery. And that has never been fully addressed. And because that's never been fully addressed, there's been systemic problems, and this is why things continue to go on. So until you come from that understanding, that doesn't mean that everybody after that, or all the people after that, is at fault. But until that's fully addressed, and I think that's what Natasha Cloud is screaming about. It doesn't mean that she's proud to be here and have her freedoms. Trust me, I'm sure. I'm saying this as somebody whose parents immigrated to this country. So I understand that as well too, but I also understand the struggles of being Black. And I think that in this country, and I think that it just comes from empathy, understanding, releasing the ego, and then you can have conversations. Brandon made such a good point that if more people said what you said, Ryan, and I'm being very specific about it, if more white folks said what you said about that and said, hey, I'm trying to come from a place of understanding and not, oh, Natasha Cloud's going to talk to you, but she doesn't want to talk to Enes Kanter. Brandon's right about that, because he came from a place is like, I don't care about what you have to say.
Yeah.
That's literally what he's doing, and that's not cool.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. But I appreciate you guys both opening up and discussing this, and obviously not an easy topic to discuss.
Appreciate you, brother, for having a conversation. We appreciate you.
Always. Like I said, I'm always willing to listen to and partake in those conversations. So let's try and go back to another topic.
This transition.
Yeah, see this transition. Not easy right now. I'm trying. Mikal Bridges was on a podcast and discussed him coming into the NBA and hit the year he was going to get drafted. And he revealed he actually was hoping the New York Knicks were going to draft him. And the Knicks were sitting there at 9, I believe. And he's like, the Bulls doesn't seem like I'm going to go there. All right, maybe I'm going to get drafted by the Knicks. And then the Knicks decided to go with Kevin Knox. And then Mikal Bridges obviously didn't get drafted by the Knicks. And now he's a Brooklyn Net. He's a heck of a player. But guys, why are the Knicks continually missing on players like a Mikal Bridges, like they passed up on Donovan Mitchell for Frank Ntilikina? Why are we so bad as a franchise at drafting good, talented young players, homegrown players, not to mention, who want to play in New York in MSG, and they appreciate, the history and being at the Mecca and playing basketball on the greatest stage? Why do they keep missing on these players?
I don't know, man. Here's the thing. I wish I had a better answer for you, Ryan. I'm going to pull, because people see me on other podcasts. I actually wanted the Knicks to draft Frank Ntilikina with the years they took over Donovan. I was dead wrong on that. Now, I did want Bridges over Knox. I will say that. This current Knick regime, what I will say about them is they have not hit in the lottery. They have hit on some good picks, ironically, both at 25 and Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes. They hit on some stuff later in the first round, which has been nice and helped them. They're good rotation players. They haven't got that star or second-tier player. RJ Barrett, I guess, is still to be determined with him. Ryan, you're not wrong. We've seen a lot of this in Knicks history. It's either bad luck. They were picked behind when they could have got Steph Curry, right? They get Kevin Knox, who I forget, where's Kevin Knox now? Kevin Knox is in Detroit, who hasn't done much in the league. Mikal Bridges is looking like a nice two-way player, at least at a minimum, a number 2 guy on your team. I don't know. I don't have the answers. The short answer really is, for a long period of time, for about over 2 decades, the Knicks have been managed poorly. Recently, I think the management has been good in about the last 4 years.
Right.
I know the Knox pick came in that, but recently the management has been good. They just haven't been able to get that guy in the lottery. When they had one in Kristaps Porzingis, we know how that went. He has to be traded out. But that's a lot goes back to management, right? Why did Kristaps want out? Management. Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead.
Yo, when is it just gonna hit y'all that you're just not that good of a franchise?
No.
Yeah.
Hold on. I let y'all hold on.
That's fine. No, I'm saying that's fine. And you're right about that.
You're right. You're right.
It's just part of it. I wasn't really a basketball guy growing up. I knew who the Knicks were, Hakeem Olajuwon, Allen Houston, all those guys. Since I moved here, on and off from my year with the Giants, 07, is all Knicks this, bing bong, baby.
Right.
Every year it's like, I'm like, yo, these dudes about to win the NBA finals. Don't even make it to the playoffs, get knocked out in the first round, or hadn't been to the playoffs in a long time. This year, finally won a first round playoff joint since 2013. It's like, at what point are y'all just like, yeah, we're the Portland Trailblazers. We're on that type of level of quality franchise.
Right. I don't think you're. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Dex.
No. I was going to say, I understand where you're coming from because I used to be a Jets fan. Sorry, Ryan. And then I realized that they were not this quality franchise and I decided to get off the train. The Knicks, the problem with the Knicks, I'm going to let Brian talk, but what Knicks fans hold on to is that, man, at one point they were a quality franchise in the 90s.
The 70s.
The 90s.
Yeah. Well, the 90s, they were good.
The 90s, they were good.
They were good franchise. They went to 2 finals. They were in the playoffs every year. For about 13 years, they were in contention or right there. Then they had 2 terrible decades, right? Now we're starting to see some competence, and that's drawing some people back in. I don't blame you for saying, Brandon, that they haven't been a good franchise because they haven't been a good franchise for a bit over 2 decades. I can't blame anybody for saying that. The proof is in the pudding, as they would like to say. They haven't drafted well. They have not really drafted a star, if you want to say, since Patrick Ewing. That's fair. Like I said, they had one in Kristaps Porzingis, didn't work out. It's fine if I don't blame you for having that view at all whatsoever. I think you're right. Look what we're doing to tie back in. Have empathy for what Brandon said. Understand.
No, I agree. I agree with Brandon. I guess what I would just say to this, and this is my final point on this. Yeah. Think about the playoffs this past year. How insane the New York City was when the Knicks were playing well in the playoffs. This place shuts down. It's crazy. The fans love their New York Knicks team, and if they play well, they do well. The team and the city, everyone does well. Everyone loves the Knicks. So that's where I go. That's where I asked Brandon, because we had the opportunity multiple times to draft stars that wanted to be here. Donovan Mitchell, Mikal Bridges. And if these guys were here, this team would be a successful, competent franchise that you can show, can develop, and actually have stars play here. And that's what's always been eluding for the past 2 decades. Can't get that guy. We can't get that star player. And it's frustrating as heck to watch. I've tried to give up on the Knicks, but then they draw you back in like the last 2 years where they actually play competent basketball and you fall in love with the Jalen Brunson. It's like, okay, I guess I'm going to go back down this rabbit hole and see what happens here. So it's a constant process of what the heck am I doing right now?
Hey,
you just remind me, I still got some bar tabs open from the Knicks playoff run. That was a good time, man.
It was a good time, right? See, Brandon, you were out here enjoying all of it, despite the sorriness there had been for 2 decades before. Brandon's right. And listen, Ryan, I understand why you get pulled back in. At least we can say they have a star now in Jalen Brunson. Now let's see what they do next. That's really the key. They got to start. They got a Villanova guy in here. I guess that'll.
And real quick, Brandon, in all honesty, right now, as we approach another NBA season, tell me, how excited are you to actually be going to more Knicks games possibly this year and to be able to cover them and just be around that team more?
Oh, absolutely love it. I love the Garden. That's why I'm about to shut up, because I don't want James Dolan using facial recognition to not let me run in my mouth.
There you go. Smart man.
I'm walking that back.
All right, guys. Next topic here. I don't know if you guys saw this. Indoor brawl at an arena football game. This was wild between, I believe it was Arizona Rattlers and the Massachusetts Pirates. One of the players literally was going up in the stands. It looked like Malice in the Palace. Brawl breaks out between the fans and the players. It was Leon O'Neal from the Pirates. What'd you guys make of this? I mean, this was insane to watch again.
Man, I'm looking at them dudes like, bro, y'all get about $250 per game check. You do not get paid enough to be up there at WWE going into the stands. Come on, man. You got work tomorrow, bro. You trying to fight the fans. Like I get it, because this is where we're headed. Like, I understand that fans want to run their mouths. They want to say different things. It's like the whole Bradley Beal incident, you know, and then when you push up on them, something happens. Oh, I'm suing. Oh, I'm going to take you to court. But my question to you guys is like, when, because I think it's inevitable, or how soon are we to another Malice in the Palace when it comes to one of our big sports leagues because of the deteriorating relationship between the fan and the players?
Yo, I mean, we're here, right? We've seen some of this in the last couple of years. You talked about Bradley Beal. There was Russell Westbrook 2 seasons ago, leaving the game in Philadelphia. Somebody dumps water on him. Kyrie, the same. Somebody threw a bottle at him in Boston a couple years ago. Westbrook had that situation with the fans in the stands in Utah. Listen, I'm with Brandon on this, where, look, if you're playing in this indoor football league, you ain't get paid that much to run up in the stands. I'm with you. It's definitely not worth it. It's not the same when you're making millions, but also when you're making millions, you don't want to lose a check. Look at what happened to Malice at the Palace. I remember the night that went down. That was insane. And we're in a different world with social media now than it was then in 2004. But we got to do more to protect the players. I'm going to defend the players on this. Fans are doing too much out here. They're saying too much. I've literally heard fans say wild things to players. I'm going to share a true story here. I've shared this other places. I was at one of the times the Knicks were in the playoffs. It was against the Celtics. I think this was 2010 or 2011. I can't remember. I am pregame courtside. Rajon Rondo is warming up. And I was doing some work, shooting some video. Rajon Rondo's right there taking jumpers before the game. This dude comes down, bottom of MSG, and is heckling the hell out of Rajon Rondo. All kinds of curse words. MFer, this, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I stopped for a second, looked over, and was like, who's this man? Who's he talking to? I looked over to my left. This man was cursing out Rajon Rondo with 2 kids who were about 6 and 4. And I was like, this guy has no shame. And Rajon looked at dude and was like, really, man? Which is the same reason I had. Fans think they can say whatever you want. You can go to a game, Brandon, you're a professional athlete. I'm sure people say crazy things to you, booed you, say whatever they want to say. But there's a line where people cross. And I understand where some of these players go and they're like, look, you crossed the line. You're talking about my family. It becomes a racial insult, a sexual insult, whatever it might be. Those are things where I understand to cross the line. Now, we say all the time, these guys have to be professional and you can't run up in the stands. But when fans start throwing things or saying things like that, we have to do a better, especially in these sports like basketball, arena football, where the fans are so close to the field, to the court. We've got to do a better job of protecting them and getting these fans up out of here when they do this stuff that's crazy. Because Brandon's right. We're not that far removed where there could be another one of these Malice at the Palace situations and a couple of players go up in the stands. It's, man, the fans, you got to chill out. That's all I got to say. Fans got to chill out. You go to a game, you do not own these players. You do not get to do whatever you want. It's a privilege to be at a game and enjoy a sporting event and see these great athletes, perform and entertain us. You don't get the right to say whatever you want just because you paid whatever you paid for your ticket. Like, nah, it's not cool.
Yeah, and I think that's where I was going to go here too, with fan etiquette. They need to be taught. I think fans need to be educated on how to be a fan. You buy a ticket, you feel this right to, you want to say what you want to these players, but there's that line you cross all the time. Fan etiquette. Boo when you want to boo. Cheer when you want to cheer. This is your team. This is what you're spending your hard-earned money to go watch X player or team play. But you cannot cross lines when it comes to cursing, race, all that stuff, because that is that's disrespectful. And that's not what this is. This is not the old Roman Colosseum where I'm seeing gladiators fight to death. These guys are putting their bodies on the line for your entertainment, but also at the same time, there's a respect there, and you're crossing that, and you're getting into that realm of being disrespectful to those athletes and what they're trying to do to put on the entertaining show for us as fans. And I'll say, and this is the last thing I'll say about this. You want to know who had the upper hand this weekend about this week, actually, for this entire situation? Aaron Hicks returned to New York Yankee Stadium for the first time since being released by the Yankees. And Yankees fans decided to heckle and boo during his tribute video, every at bat, every time he caught a ball. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. I'm like, why are you booing him? He's literally on the Orioles now. There's no reason to boo him. He's not hurting the team anymore. He's like, you know what he did? He hit a home run the other day, and he was rounding the bases, and he pointed. And you know what? I said, good for him. Good for him. Because he's pointing it and shoving it right back to all the fans and saying, you want to keep booing me? Go ahead. But I'm having the upper hand, man. You guys are still paying me $10 million for the next 3 years, and I'm going to hit bombs and hurt your team. Plain and simple. So if you, the fans, want to keep booing, that's fine. But also at the same time, stop crossing the line. These athletes will literally, you're driving them up a wall, like where they want to come to physical harm to you guys because you're nonstop. I just don't get it. I don't get that at all.
And at the end of the day, we're talking about people paying their hard-earned money, and they're doing it the right way. You're messing it up for them now as well. Like, I do all that fan stuff with the Giants. They talk about, the first time I got a chance to bring my son or daughter to a game, or my grandfather beat cancer, we brought him to a Giants game. Now you got that one a-hole that's just up there running his mouth. You're just ruining the entire experience, not only for the player, but for other fans as well, who from Monday through Friday, all they think about is just getting away from their boss, getting away from work, painting their bodies as a grown-up, and going to a game to have fun for 3 hours and watch their team play. It's all they want to do. And there's still those people who think that they're on the team, or
they think they're entitled.
It's just crazy.
There you go.
Weird.
That's the word. They think they are entitled. You're not entitled. It's a privilege. You pay. It's just like if you went to a Broadway show. You don't like what you see, you're going to run up on stage and curse out one of the actors. No, you're not going to do that. And a lot of these people that do this, I think what happens is, I'm not condoning violence. I want to be very clear about what I'm saying. I am not condoning violence in situations. But Brandon knew the butt was coming.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, but when you say something crazy that you would not say to one of these dudes, especially in football, these bigger guys that are out there, if you saw this person on the street, you would not keep the same energy. So you can't be mad if you want to have that energy, and then homie runs up on you in the stands and it's like, what's up?
And it bites you in the ass, literally.
Yeah, and they're like, these guys, you think you're going to win fighting these football players? You're not going to win. The average Joe in the stand, you're not going to win. And they
doesn't help when these fans have liquid encouragement too.
That too. But I'll tell you what, those players that ran up in the stands, they didn't come there to lose. They did not run up in the stands till they are not going to lose, right? Like, that's not going to happen. It's entitlement. Ryan's 100% right about that. 100%.
Yeah. Crazy. Guys, that's another episode of The Post Up. Appreciate you guys.
Another good one. Brandon, make sure your family's good. I'm concerned about them. Everybody's stomachs in their health. Because if not, they got to take you off the grill next year, man. Can't have you on the grill.
Take you off the grill. They might.
Oh, man. I got to close the laptop and go check up on them.
Check on your people. Peace, guys.
See ya.